All right, everybody, I'm going to explain this worksheet on thesis statements. Before I begin, make sure that you have already completed the worksheet on your own, and you made it at least through step 2. You've evaluated the thesis statements, you've done the checklist, and you've written your responses in these boxes. If you haven't done that yet, stop the video and come back when you're ready. Okay, so these are the criteria for a good thesis statement. You need to answer the research question. The thesis statement is the answer to the research question. It should answer all parts of the research question. A thesis statement should be debatable and controversial. By that we mean not everybody agrees with you. Somebody could argue with you about this. A sane, logical person could say, actually, you're wrong, and here's why. And you would be able to have a meaningful argument about it. Your thesis statement should be informed by extensive research. It should not be an opinion that you had before you started. This should be an opinion that is based on things that you learned about the topic after you started researching it. It should be your unique opinion. It should not be what everybody else thinks necessarily. There might be some people who disagree with you and some people who agree with you, but generally this is a unique idea. Your perspective is nuanced or complicated. It's not too simple. You've really been thinking about this. You've brought in a lot of research. You have a complicated idea of how to address this complicated problem, not a simple idea. And then you want to make sure you like the language, you like the way that it's written. So we have 3 example thesis statements here. So this first one, the DREAM Act will help our economy. So the DREAM Act is a federal law that would allow undocumented youth to have a path toward citizenship, either by going to college or joining the military. This is an opinion that probably, when the person decided they wanted to research the DREAM Act, they probably already thought that the DREAM Act was good and that it would help our economy. I don't think that this is based on research. I would say that there would be a no for this one. It is debatable. There are people who think the DREAM Act would hurt the economy. So yes, it is debatable. So I would say yes to this one. So let's highlight that one for a yes. But I don't think it's based on research. It's not a very unique opinion. It's kind of a simple opinion. It's not a very complicated perspective. It's a simple perspective. And by that I mean, what do you mean, how would it help our economy? It just seems too vague, too general. I think this is a pretty weak thesis statement at the moment. It would need to be more specific, and it would need to reference research in order to be stronger. This next one. The best way to protect our environment is to adhere to the agreements established in the Kyoto Protocol. So this is debatable. There are some people who don't want to adhere to the Kyoto Protocol. It's probably based on research, because my guess is this person didn't know about the Kyoto Protocol before they started researching it. So let's say yes. As a unique opinion, not really. I mean, a lot of people would say this. It's not that unique. Is it nuanced or complicated? Not really. It's kind of like we should do this idea that other people already have. This thesis statement is okay. I think it's probably like a B-level thesis statement. If the quality of the research is really strong, the paper could still be an A paper. But the thesis statement itself is good, but it's not great. This last one. In order to have free speech in our society, censorship is unacceptable. Instead, we should implement a media literacy requirement in public schools at all grade levels. So notice this is 2 sentences. It is okay to have a 2-sentence thesis statement as long as the sentences clearly go together. Is it debatable? Yes, it is debatable. Some people would argue that we should censor things. Some people would argue that media literacy is not an important thing that goes in schools. So yeah, it's debatable. Is it based on research? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not really sure. Maybe the idea of media literacy is something they found in their research, so let's throw that out there. Is it a unique opinion? Is it nuanced or complicated? I would say yes. Say yes that this is fairly complex, fairly unique. One thing that I am a little uncertain about is what do they mean by media literacy requirement? How do they know that this would be effective? I think it's really easy to say, like, we should teach this in schools, but it's a lot harder to explain what exactly should be taught in schools. Another thing that's a little confusing to me is what exactly is the research topic? Like, what When they're talking about censorship, what are they talking about? Are they talking about like racism in the media? Are they talking about sexism in the media? Are they talking about violence in the media? Like what exactly is the issue here? That's a little unclear to me. I think this is the strongest of our 3 drafts, but it still needs some work in order to get it to be a strong thesis statement. So now think about what you can do to craft a thesis statement that meets these criteria. How can you craft a thesis statement that answers your question, that's debatable, that's based on your research, that's unique, nuanced, complicated, and is worded beautifully? Your next task is to work on drafting your thesis statement and working with your tutor to create the best possible thesis statement for your paper.